Young ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all. Once again, you are welcome here on your platform. Much beloved, the tribune of the watchful, of consciences. So this is the headline of international news. Russia has no more limits on the Ukrainian side. Today, March 12th, 2025, I was going to say, has been marked by a very, very hard strike that Russia has inflicted on a hotel in Ukraine. Unfortunately, in this hotel, there were instructors, French military personnel, Ukrainian military personnel. So one wonders if it's perhaps to show the future path to Emmanuel Macron, since Emmanuel Macron is now setting himself up as a war leader. He is in the process of mobilizing. He has almost mobilized all the chiefs of general staff of NATO armies. Emmanuel Macron, who is asking them to produce a plan B too, as he says, ensure the security guarantee of Ukraine when the ceasefire becomes available. But beyond this aspect, as we know well, Emmanuel Macron seeks to protect all of Europe, seeks to show his strength. So the hotel was targeted. Unfortunately, many French people went to their eternal rest, as well as Ukrainian soldiers. And as if that wasn't enough, Russia also targeted a warship that was carrying ammunition, but it was packed to the brim. This ship was also sent to its eternal rest. So, ladies and gentlemen, in this video conference, we will discuss these elements of the report, the acts of devastation that Russia has committed on this day, March 12th, 2025. But before continuing, as usual, I ask you to share this video conference. It needs to be shared as widely as possible in all groups. And for all those who are not yet subscribed, please subscribe. Share the video conference as much as you can. That's what it's about. There you go. So, let's dive into the depths. Yes. The Russian army itself, according to official information, it is the Russian army itself that makes the announcement. The Russian army claims to have launched a massive missile strike on a hotel where French volunteers and Ukrainian soldiers were located. The hotel is located in Druzhba. The name of the hotel is Druzhba in the Krivoy Rog region. So, they were preparing the soldiers. The French volunteers and the Ukrainian soldiers were getting ready for a deployment in the Kursk region. Since currently in the Kursk region, Russia is conducting a cleanup operation. It is carrying out the final cleanup. We have seen the news in the last few hours, where we saw Ukrainian soldiers who decided to come and surrender. We have seen how many localities, as quickly as possible, Russia was able to recover. And so, given the situation, Ukraine and NATO decided to send reinforcements to the Kursk side. And that's where these reinforcements were getting ready. That Russia sent Iskander, Iskander already. The sublime missile, Russian, which acts to the total satisfaction of Vladimir Putin, meaning it's a missile that leaves nothing behind. When it is launched, when it arrives, it obviously hits its target. So then, and the information is provided by the president of the Russian Civil Chamber Commission for Sovereignty. He is the one who provides the information. So, what needs to be said is that the Russian forces also struck a ship carrying ammunition intended for the Ukrainian army. The Ukrainian army already doesn't even have ammunition anymore, and every day that God makes, in all the cardinal points that we know, the 4 cardinal points, including the center, including other geographical regions, other localities, every day that God makes, ammunition depots are destroyed by the Russian army. But this time, it's a shipment. Containers. They were on a warship, on a large boat. So Russia received the coordinates, Russia targeted, and then Russia sent. And so, what should be remembered is that also, At the same time, Ukraine is sending to Russia. So, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense, the Russian anti-air defense was able to shoot down 3 JDAM aerial bombs. So, they too intercepted bombs. They shot them down. The Russian anti-air defense also shot down a HIMARS projectile and 91 drones. With fixed wings. 91 drones? So, we remember that since yesterday morning, Ukraine has been sending only drones and missiles. So Russia is also preparing to receive them, to shoot them down. Overall, speaking already, what should be noted is that the conflict is reaching another level. The closer we get to the ceasefire, the more we witness the intensification of the conflict. I'm getting there. The conflict intensifies gradually. There are also production workshops. The storage and launch sites for Ukrainian drones have actually been the subject of, destruction. Ukrainian drone storage and launch sites have been hit. This means that Russia has really struck. It has struck seriously. We also have that the Ukrainian armed forces have lost, just in those few hours, 1160 men. 1160 men have been sent to eternal rest. So, here is generally what happened. So, it's tense on both sides nonetheless. And we can easily understand that soon we will witness a ceasefire. So each side wants to impact the other as much as possible. And unfortunately, these are lives we are losing. Unfortunately, these are lives we are losing. And so, the situation is becoming very complicated. We have Volodymyr Zelensky, who says that the Ukrainian army is currently striving and preserving the lives of its soldiers as much as possible. In the Kursk Oblast region, he says they are fighting to preserve the lives of Ukrainian soldiers. He says this: Ukrainian troops operating in the Kursk Oblast in Russia continue their mission despite strong Russian pressures. He goes on to say that the military command is doing what it must do. It preserves the lives of our soldiers as much as possible. So, and he continues by calling for a serious assessment of the situation on the ground rather than a reaction to the information war. So, here is generally what needs to be said regarding the current events on the ground. It's very tense. The ground is mined. Both parties. Each is trying to gain the maximum advantage before we obviously reach the ceasefire. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the headline news. Thank you for sharing it as much as possible. I will get back to you shortly with more news. This was the voice of your one and only samurai.